Michael E. Parker here for another episode here on YouTube. I hope you're doing well, and I hope you are thinking deeply about how do you get more out of your life, more out of your business, more out of your productivity. And believe it or not, to add more, we have to subtract. And that's what we're here to talk about today, the law of subtraction, and what this has to do with us meeting more of our business goals and even some of our life goals. So we want to understand that we all think about the things that we want out of life. We all want more. We all want to, have more things. So we think a lot about adding to what we have, right? Adding to what we want, adding to what we need. But we often don't understand the very, very important relationship between subtraction and having the things that we want added to our life. And so I want you to take a quick journey with me today to understand why subtraction is so important. A lot of times, whenever we think about subtraction, we think about loss. We think about losing something, right? So we think about, expenses. We think about costs. We think about, losing something, right? Subtraction itself, it has a negative connotation, subconsciously. We kind of think that way, right? Addition, normally you think that someone's getting something. They're getting more of something. They're getting, higher, deeper, wider in some particular thing. But we're going to really dissect this a little bit to understand that we want to understand the positive and the negative of both addition and subtraction. They both, have negative and positive sides. It depends on what you're talking about, right? You don't want more pain, right? You don't want, more bills, right? And all these things is just different perspectives. Now, let's talk for a minute about the things that we do oftentimes we associate it with wanting more. I'm gonna go to my whiteboard for a minute. I wanna, let's just do a quick exercise here. And let's say for a minute, get my pen here. So let's say for a minute, when we think about you and I here, and I'm gonna get some green things that we want. So let's say we might want nutrition. We want to add that to our life. We want, let's say, fitness. Yeah, I think you all would agree these are reasonable things to want added to our life. More quality sleep, right? Money. Also, more free time. Okay? So all those are things that, we wouldn't mind having added to our life. So most of the time we think about these things, we think about, the things that we want. And there it is again, here's some things I want. I want more of this. I would love to be a person full of nutrition, full of fitness, full of sleep, more money. Who doesn't want more money? Want more free time, right? To do the things that I want to do. So all of this we're used to, right? But I want you to think about, let's think about, because we're talking about the law of subtraction here, what might I have to subtract to have these things added? Let's think about that a little bit. So if I want more nutrition, I would have to subtract junk food, right? For example. Or if I want more fitness, I have to subtract comfort, because sometimes it's not comfort to work out and do those things, right? If I'm gonna, add more sleep, I may have to subtract entertainment. Things that, I like to do. Maybe I want to stay up and watch TV, right? Or, maybe being able to, I want to do things late night. So I have to subtract that, right? And this is a big one for me. I don't know if some of you out there are battling to sleep better, but when you have a lot on your plate, you start thinking about all that you could do, and you start just doing more and more and more, and I'm always trying to balance that out. So to have that addition, I've got to subtract something, right? It could be even late night work is being subtracted. To have more money, I have to subtract wasteful spending, right? To have more money. So I want to be making more investments or being wiser with my money to be able to do that. To have more free time, that means that I have to subtract. Let's say if I want more free time, I have to be willing to subtract some of my productive and even could be some wasteful time that I have that I don't realize. So it could be some time that's both productive, or it could be some time that's wasteful. If I want some free time, I've got to find a way to get rid of some of that time. Like it might be productive, to work that much, or to, work overtime or take a second or third job. If I want free time, I might have to sacrifice some of that. I might have to sacrifice some of my goals, right? So it could even be some goals that I have, right? Or things that I like to do, but I might have to relook at that. There's sometimes you're trying to think about, should I take this job? Should I take on this craft, this hobby, whatever it is? But if my goal is free time, I have to think about, how do I create that time by subtracting something that's taking my time? So, this is all pretty straightforward, and I hope you can see the relationship where with each addition, there is a corresponding subtraction. And this is true in life as it is in business. If I want to add more, things in my business that create teamwork, if I want to create things in my business that generate more money, if I want to create things in my business that, actually begin to allow us to be more productive, I have to be looking at what is it that I can subtract that would lead me to those goals. So, and we're going to talk about that in different ways here a little bit today, but I want you to see, when you look through the lens of what do I need to take away to be able to have the things that I may want, it's a whole different way of thinking. Now, let's look at another example here. So let's look at the example of a tree. And you all know, like, we can have this is going to be my tree for today. Just kind of drawing quickly here. And we might have some, fruit coming off and some branches and so forth. So depending on what type of tree this is, right? And one thing you ever notice about a tree, there's something that while a tree is bearing fruit, there's a very, very important thing with respect to that in agriculture, and it is called pruning, right? So I'm sure some of you out there have heard of pruning. I don't know if we got some gardeners with us here today. I see some of you that are joining me live, and don't want to forget, make sure if you're here, if you haven't done it, to subscribe, to like, to comment, to share. If you're just new to the channel, you're watching the replay, make sure you subscribe and share and comment about the things that you're getting out of this session. But think about it for a minute. Some of you out there may be gardeners, right? And you like flowers and gardening, and you like growing your own vegetables. And some of you might have a few of you out there that like that. And if you are, you'll find out very quickly that if you don't do some pruning, if you don't do some pulling of the weeds, if you don't cut something back, then it won't make room for the proper growth of a flower or a fruit. And so there is always some pruning that is happening here in the, within a, tree trying to get fruit to grow. There's pruning happening, and you're cutting back, little things that could be getting in the way of that fruit having free range to grow. Or maybe there is things that are, covering that fruit from getting enough sun, and you start to cut those things back. So this is another example, right, of subtraction leading to addition. So when we begin to realize that there are certain types of seeds we've planted in our business, there's seeds we've planted in our team, there's even seeds we're planting in our life that we want to return, we want fruit to come from that. But we have to notice that when we begin to plant these things in our business, in our life, that there's things that start to happen that can start to get in the way of you reaching those goals. And if you don't prune, then you'll end up starting off good, but ending up you wonder, why is it that I still never get to that goal? I still never meet that business goal, and even personal goal or fitness goal or health goal, because something starts to grow over what you initially intended. And so you can't get enough sun, right, or energy or work or food towards that thing that it could grow. So this is why if we don't keep our eye on subtraction, because there's always things in our life by nature, we're adding, right? Because every day, there's things coming at us. There's things and choices that we're making that add to our thoughts, add to our mind. We're learning, we're seeing things, we're evaluating. This brain we have is always bringing new information in. It wants to learn something new. It wants to do something new. All the time we're spending on social media, on Google, on YouTube, we're always taking in information at work, on the phone. There's all this coming at us. So it is a job to stop all the madness and determine what will you allow to come in and what type of room will you make for the things you want to come in by having a filter that filters some things out so that you can stay focused on what's important. So this is a daily mind pruning, right? There's a daily time pruning. There's a daily focus pruning that we all have to do. We all have to be able to do that. Now, here's another great business example. Now, some of you know, even when we're looking at a business context, let's see if I can draw this out here. So I want you to consider, now, when we are in our operation as a business, here's another way we have to look at subtraction. So when we think about a business, and I'm going to think about, did you all know, and you've heard me talk about this in talking through my lean management background, we talk about 7 forms of waste, right? And there's different forms of waste. Let me put some of these in red. I haven't talked about this in a while. So there's things like overproduction, overprocessing. And this is doing things that don't matter to the customer, things like waiting, things like motion, conveyance, moving things around. We got things like, let me get that, inventory. So these are all things that can generate different forms of waste, right? And we even talk about underutilized ability as a form of waste. So, so let's say this little area over here is value, right? And get rid of this little black line here. So if you look at this and say, okay, all of this in green is value, and then all of this other stuff that happens throughout the course of our work is wasteful. So from a subtraction perspective, we're always looking at where are these different forms of waste, even in our operation, so that we can focus more on the value. So for us to be able to focus on the value, I'm looking for where am I producing more than is necessary, right? Producing more than is necessary. I'm looking at where am I overprocessing. In other words, I am doing like a bunch of stuff in the business, and I have something that the customer doesn't even care about. And even looking within your company is every process being a customer to each other, and you got an email that no one reads, a report that no one looks at, right? Whatever that thing is. And so it's over-processing. It's doing too much in the process than is required. You need to subtract that out. Waiting. How many areas within the business are people waiting for things, waiting for, information, waiting for people, waiting to be able to use something that helps them be able to move to the next step in the process, right? Motion, movement is not work, right? Work is value-added movement. So anytime there's a lot of walking and going here and there in the job, or people have to go real far to get something they need, instead of being able to have the things around them that is necessary to do that job, that is also a form of waste, which we need to subtract that out. Conveyance, taking something from here to over there, and that thing you took is still the same thing it was here, it just got moved over there. This is seen as a form of waste because there was no value added to it versus taking something that's going to be used to produce something, right? So making sure we don't have a lot of movement of things from one place to another. We study this in the lean management discipline. Then inventory. Having a bunch of inventory that took your money and turned it into inventory, which no longer generates any value for you. And now that inventory is just sitting there and it doesn't do anything. It's really money sitting in the company. So this is what we want to subtract out inventory that we don't need because we only want to bring in material that we're going to use to do something that generates money. That's the purpose of it. We want to bring it in, turn it into money. We want to bring it in, let it sit, right? Then underutilized ability. Someone sitting in the company that has ability and you're only allowing them to do 1, 2, but they can do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But we don't know how to bring that out of them because we haven't constructed a job assignment and a work environment that allows them to bring the most out of themselves. So again, we need to subtract those things out that this person is doing or not doing so that they can focus on something of more value. Now, that's just a quick summary, but the goal is we want to get more value out of what we do by subtracting things that are wasteful, right? Subtracting things that are wasteful. So this is another very key point. So I want you to get this. Now, if you're just getting here again, I want to remind you, subscribe, like, share, and comment. We're so glad you came to another episode here on URSO, and we are talking about the law of subtraction. Now, you all have heard of the law of attraction, right? And, you know, people get the wrong perception of this, you know, and I guess some people just get it wrong altogether because they really believe that if I just think about something, I'm going to attract it to me. I'm going to speak it to the universe. Give me $1 million, and it's going to start the universe is going to start coming and figuring out a way to bring me $1 million. Well, this is not the law of attraction. I don't believe in that in terms of the way that people generally teach it. Now, I do believe if I put my mind on something and I speak more positive about what I'm doing and where I'm going, then my mind will be on what I'm speaking about, and I will be more intentional in my work, and I will focus my efforts and my time and my energy on that thing that I'm trying to create in my life. And because I'm doing that, I am more prone to be successful at something I'm putting my effort and energy towards. I'm putting my mind toward, my word toward. That is true. But when you say it as if you say it and the universe wakes up and comes and brings it to you in a gift basket, I don't believe in that. But what is important to understand is today we're breaking down the law of subtraction, right? Attraction, again, is back to adding things, right? Adding. I want to attract money. I want to attract the right relationship. I want to attract these things in my life. We're talking today about subtracting things so we can have the things that we really want. So this is another perspective, another way of looking at all this. All right. So I want you to think about that. So in business, you know, let's go back to our pie chart. And there's what's called the 80-20 rule. And some of you have heard me talk about this, but many of you know about the 80-20 rule, that 20% of the cause has 80% of the effect, right? In other words, if I've got 10 salespeople, probably 2 of those salespeople, which is 20%, is generating 80% of the result or the effect, right? If you have, you know, even within your business, right? It can be that 20% of your team is generating 80% of the revenue in your business, right? So you keep using this 80-20 rule, you'll find it to be very true, right? And a lot of times, the challenge is with all of us as leaders, we don't realize that we spend too much time because the 80% that is not useful, right? Let's say this 80% is wasteful, right? The 20% is valuable. So who are the people that really get to that next level of wealth, that next level of business success, that ability to achieve the higher heights? So it's not the people who did more. So I want you to really see this. It's not the people who did more. It's the people that found a way, right, to take some of this 80%, right, and subtract, right? Take something away that you were doing that was wasteful so that more value can begin to be created. So the secret to more money, more productivity, more growth is not looking at how to add. It's trying to find the things you need to subtract so that you can add. Let me say that again. The secret to our next step, our next goal, our next milestone is not trying to find more things to add. It's trying to find where can you subtract so that you can add. And I can tell you as an entrepreneur, it's one of the most difficult things you will ever do is to be honest about where things are wasteful, where you need to reduce things, where you need to take things away so that you can be better at something that you're doing. I'm constantly in that struggle every single day as an entrepreneur and as someone who has a lot of responsibility. And you have to take that responsibility on in what you're doing, because if you start to look around your life, you're going to see the 80-20 rule around your life. There's still 80% of things that you're doing in different areas of your life that are not generating the result. And there's like 20% of the things that you're doing that's really the main things causing you to push things forward in your business as well as in your personal life. So you start to look at, where can I subtract, right? I told some people, not long ago who I was coaching and mentoring, that they were not really qualified to watch that much television. Like, they have not earned to play video games that long. Why? Because they must subtract some of that to make time to learn something that can generate real wealth, that can generate their future, that can help them. I inspire young people many times that you have not qualified to waste that much time on Instagram, right? It's okay to have some of these things, but you have to make sure if you're spending more time on that and you don't even know what you want to be, what you want to do, you're still struggling to just meet the expenses in your life, well, then you should have more time doing things that is increasing that 20% to 30% to 40% because you subtracted some of that 80%. I hope you all are really getting this that are listening here today. I hope you're getting this. This is very, very important. Now, I'm going to wrap this all up for you all, and I want you to understand these critical areas. So we talk about the law of subtraction. So one thing we want to do, we want to think minimal, right? How can I do the most with the least, right? We should be thinking about that, being minimal. Another thing we want to be is intentional, right? Do the right thing on purpose. So the thing is, a lot of time we're just living. Like, we're just living and going every day, but we're not intentional. Like, we're not intentional on thinking about what is wasteful. Where am I needing to subtract? I can't be intentional on subtracting until I'm aware I need to subtract. I can't be intentional on removing waste until I'm aware I need to remove waste. So this is what we're opening that door for you here today to understand that this exists in your life, this exists in your business. So you have to become intentional. Where is this at? This brings me to the next word. No. This is pretty simple, but it's pretty powerful, right? Be willing to say no. This is a big one because we hate to say no. And no is subtracting in nature because it stops something from being added to you. So you have to know when to say no. Say that one more time. You have to know when to say no, because that no is stopping addition from coming to something that was already a problem, already too much, already wasteful. So we're learning and being willing to say no when it becomes apparent that no is really something that should be said. It's not good to take on that next thing, to do that next thing. I have to really be honest. I don't have the time to do that, to do this. I had to make some calls like that recently where I had to say no. I really wanted to do something and say, I need to rest. I don't have the time to do it. Sometimes you feel like it's a failure and you have to look at it. No, this is good. To say no to doing too much is to say yes to maybe rest and restoration that you need. To say no to maybe doing something you wanted to do is saying yes to something that you needed to do, which is going to lead to more times to do the things you want to do. But you have to have enough vision to see that, right? Here's another thing that we want to keep in mind. Under promise, right? So you can over deliver. So sometimes we need to subtract our promise. Stop giving yourself so much. Now, I'm not saying to lessen your ability or to shortchange what you're able to do. I'm saying not to overpromise. You should promise. You should be good. You should be excellent. You should give value in whatever you do. But when you underpromise, you're saying, I'm going to only promise what is required to meet the need. So when I overdeliver, I'm going to just overwhelm this person with happiness because I let them know that I can do this, and that was enough to get them where they would be happy. And then I'm going to over-deliver on that, right? Because I didn't over-promise. So a lot of people, we over-promise and then under-deliver. We don't want people to not be happy with us, so we say things we shouldn't say. Sometimes you see that with time. It's kind of hard, right? You're running late, you're on the go, and you want to say like, hey, I'll be there in 5 minutes. Right? And it's going to take you 15, right? But it feels better to say the 5 minutes because you don't have to feel that initial pain and you just get the pain later when you're 15 minutes late, right? You ever been in that situation? I mean, that's the challenge. We don't want to deal with that, so we overpromise. So being able to underpromise so that then we can overdeliver. This is again, subtraction benefit, right? And then I can't say enough about the schedule. The schedule holds the truth. So your schedule, so first of all, you need one. But then when you start to create a schedule, more of a life schedule, not just your work schedule, but to look at where does your time go, then you can start thinking deeply about where the subtraction might need to be. So the schedule is so powerful because the schedule literally holds your life in a visual format. So when you say, where's my life going? Am I 280 or 220? Is there too much this or too much that? Well, who knows? Some people just live. They don't even have a schedule. You even know what you do. You never stop and look at your life. You don't look at how you move, how your life moves. You don't look at how your business moves, what your rhythm of your business is. When you tend to work more, when you tend to work less. When you tend to have more to do versus less to do. And when you don't take that time to write those things down because you get so busy and I don't mean having appointments. That's different. We all might have appointments on the schedule, but I mean to look at your schedule. What do you do when you don't have an appointment? What is your schedule when you don't have those things? And really think about how your life is moving. And what happens is we get busy and the weeds start to grow. And we're all guilty of this. I'm guilty of this. We get busy and the weeds start to grow and you just start not to understand how things are moving until you stop and say, what am I tending to do at this particular time on these particular days, and determine, is that what I want to do? So that what? I can be intentional, right, about how I want to subtract. And I hope you can see here what we've spelled is minus, right? And we want, through the law of subtraction, to minus out the things that don't matter so we can focus on the things that do matter. So have the courage to have addition through subtraction, value through elimination of waste. And when we truly understand that, we can open doors of opportunity to more fruit of money, fruit of free time, fruit of better health, fruit of meeting our business goals, fruit of meeting our personal goals, and ultimately to have the life that we all want. I am Michael E. Parker. I hope you enjoyed this episode on the law of subtraction. Make sure you tell everyone about what's happening here on this channel at URCO here on YouTube. I hope you'll keep joining me every session we've been having 3 times a week. And I hope that you've been getting a lot of value out of this. And I want you to take this and use this. Have the courage to be honest about what you need to remove so you can have the things that you want. Until next time, I will see you soon.